Hey, it's your friend CJ here, and welcome back to another week of the BBL. This is going to be week number 8, going up against the Groningen Noctowls, coached by Super Suna Arashi. I'm not sure if I said any of that correctly, but make sure you go into the description below and check out Arashi's channel. If you missed our last week's game, I of course recommend you check that out too. We went up against Blue, and who was Blue the coach of? I can't even remember. But we had a very close game versus Blue. Ended up being a 1-0 victory after quite a bit of hacks and tilt, which is pretty crazy. I've actually not commentated the post-com for that at the time I'm recording this video. So I'm going to have to rewind a week as soon as I get my recording finished for that. But we'll focus on this week's, of course, and we'll talk about the roster that Arashi has. So Arashi has Noctowls, Superior, Lugia, Galvantula, Seismitoad, Metagross, Hariyama, Aromatisse, Mega Sableye, and Torkoal. So there's definitely some big threats. The biggest thing that I think I'm afraid of is Noctowls, which makes sense. It's the Uber that he has on his team, or one of the Ubers, I should say. And the right set can definitely plow through my team. Like just a simple 4-attack set with Flamethrower and HP Ground can decimate most of my team, especially if he gets a boost. And so I have a couple of countermeasures for that, but he could definitely still win if I allow any of those countermeasures to get weakened. So I'm going to play very, very carefully and make sure that that does not happen. One thing I don't know if I would say scared of, but I think one thing that's going to be could be very annoying for my team to deal with is Leech Seed, like Sub-Leech Seed Superior. Because on paper, I've got two pretty good checks to Superior, being Heatran and Scizor, and he can't reasonably run Hidden Power for both. But if he just runs like Sub-Leech Seed, he can pretty easily wear down both of those mons. Especially if he has like Protect, like Sub-Protect Leech Seed, and Leaf Storm. Could potentially 6-0 my team if I'm not careful. So that's one thing that I'm really scared of. Sableye, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily scared of, but I think it's a mon that requires prep on its own. So I have a couple of mons, or at least I have one mon that's specifically packing moves to beat Sableye. And then otherwise, like, he just has a couple of annoying things. Like, Medicham here isn't that great because he has Lugia and Sableye. Metagross is very fat. Seismitoad can be annoying just because like my grass type sucks, and so I don't have a great way to hit Seismitoad. I don't have any grass coverage on my team either this week, so Seismitoad can use its stab moves and its bulk to whittle down my team. So yeah, that's most of the intro thoughts. Let me go through the team that I've decided to bring, and then we'll hop on into the battle. So most of my strategy revolves this week around a Call My Baton Pass Xatu. So this Pokemon, it has the potential to win on its own because he doesn't have any Ghost Resists. So in theory, like a +6 Xatu could plow through the team. But I'm expecting some especially bulky mons like Aromatisse and Hariyama make a lot of sense as his Dark Resists. So he could be pecking those with bulky spreads to deal with like a Calm Mind Arceus. So Xatu might not necessarily be able to break those mons. But I can definitely Baton Pass into something like Primarina to break through Hariyama quite easily, and I can also pass into Heatran to deal with Aromatisse quite easily. We'll go over those sets in just a moment too. But yeah, basically just CM, Roost, Baton Pass, Shadow Ball, Culper Berry to allow us to survive hits from like knockoff Hariyama, and then we just have a fully Fizz-Def spread this week. He has a kind of a funky team in terms of the speed tiers. He doesn't have anything, I believe, between Seismitoad and Galvantula. Yeah, that's correct. So this is 74, and this is 108. So I don't really need a lot of speed. I could have run some speed for like a Jolly Metagross, I guess. But I decided not to do that, just to prioritize the bulk, just because Metagross can't do that much damage to Xatu anyway, unless it's like Bandit or Power Up Punch or something like that. So one of my recipients of the Baton Pass, of course, is Arceus with 3 attacks for cover. This Pokemon can win on its own in the late game anyway. If I have chip damage on Aromatisse and on Hariyama. But it's a very nice recipient for a Baton Pass. Because Like, this Pokemon really wants to take advantage of, like, Lugia. And Lugia could be a switch in to a Calm Mind Xatu. And then also, like, Sableye to a lesser extent. It's funny because in the original incarnation of the team, I was actually thinking of Calm Mind Baton Pass Medicham. And that was really perfect because both Lugia and Sableye are good switch-ins to Medicham. And so if I could Baton Pass into Arceus, facing both of those Mons, it puts me in a really good position. Xatu doesn't quite lure both of them, but he could. And like I said, if Xatu lures in something like Aromatisse, I can then pass into Heatran or something to eliminate that. But yeah, it's just really strong and bulky. It can take one of just about anything besides like a close combat from an adamant Hariyama. So hopefully I can pass into this and win. I also have a fairly offensive Primarina with leftovers 3 attacks. I just put enough here. I forget exactly what this was for. I think it was to hit KO like Lugia with Ice Beam or something like that. Obviously it doesn't quite work out if he's faster than me, which he will be, and can roost up, but that's kind of what the thought process was, just because I wanted a little bit into Fizdef if I could help it. And then Psych Up is there just purely for Sableye. If he does go for like a ton of Calm Minds versus me, I can then Psych Up, get up a Moonblast, and basically win, because then at that point, like, Superior isn't going to even be able to kill me in one shot. So I like this set quite a bit, and also like it just to receive Baton Passes. And then next I have Sugarberry Heatran. This one we have to play slightly more carefully with. It depends on how many boosts Xatu has, whether I pass into it or not. But this is my 100% check for Naganadel. If he has like Life Orb, HP, Ground, and he has 1 boost, we're still guaranteed to live after Rocks with our Heatran, assuming we were at full. Any chip in addition to that no longer guarantees that we live. But yeah, we can do about like 86, 87% minimum with Earth Power back to that thing, so that's pretty nice. And then Magma Storm hits pretty much everything else on the team. Like, his only fire resists are Toad, Torkoal, and Naganadel. And then obviously Torkoal and Naganadel gets hit by Earth Power. And then Toad, like, if we can Magma Storm hit that thing on its switch in, we can then follow up with a Protect, get a little bit of chip damage on it, and then we can follow up either with another Magma Storm or with Earth Power. Probably with Earth Power. Earth Power does a slightly more, assuming we don't have like a Flash Fire boost or a boost from Sun or anything like that. And we can potentially take that thing out. I don't think we are outspeeding a max speed timid Seismitoad. I think we're just outspeeding Metagross here. But yeah, like, I like this set versus this team in general, but I just need to be very careful and try and preserve it for Naganadel if I have to. I can play a little bit more recklessly with it if I have both of my next 2 Mons. If I have Scizor, I can do a lot of damage to that thing with Bullet Punch. And then just in general, the Scizor that I'm bringing, it's a good switch-in for Aromatisse. It kind of switches in on an unboosted Naganadel. Not that great. What else does it switch into? Superior, of course. Oh yeah, but mainly Superior and Aromatisse. A little bit less so Naganadel. But yeah, that's the thought process here. And then I'm packing Defog just in case he brings webs. Just because I don't want to get caught off guard by webs, and because that really sucks. And then last but not least, I have Piloswine with Ice Shard. So, like I'm saying here, basically if I have Bullet Punch plus Ice Shard, I should be relatively safe versus Naganadel. So if I like play loosely with my Heatran, it's not the end of the world. I just need to preserve both of those Mons, like I was explaining, both my both my Scizor and my Piloswine. But then this is also just generally decent for chewing a hit from Galvantula, for chewing a hit from a lot of his special attackers. You can switch into Aromatisse if it needs, and whatever. We're running just a little bit of speed on here, just to make sure we outspeed like non-invested sets of Hariyama or minimally invested sets of Hariyama. So yeah, like, it's not really that like complicated of a team. Just a lot of things to apply offensive pressure. A few Mons like Piloswine and Scizor to provide assurance versus Naganadel, as well as the Heatran, of course. Otherwise, like, I mean, his team has big threats, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm going to be able to apply more pressure than he's going to be able to apply onto me. So let's hope that strategy works out and flash on over to the battle. So Arashi has brought the Seismitoad, Lugia, Naganadel, Hariyama, Aromatisse, and Torkoal. So the biggest thing I'm relieved not to see is the Superior. It makes sense on paper why he didn't bring it, just because I do have 2 quad resists to it. But like I said in the team builder, Sub-Seed was something that was really scary to me, so I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. No Galvantulus and no Webs that we have to worry about. No Sableye. Sableye doesn't have an amazing matchup here necessarily, but it's still a relief not to see it. No Metagross. Metagross is scary in general. But yeah, like the team that he's brought made sense. Hariyama and Aromatisse both are Dark Resists, so I definitely understand that on his side. Torkoal, it's a good switch in for Scizor. It can kind of switch into Tran, I guess. I'm not sure. I guess it gets like does it get Earth Power? Let me look real quick. Yeah, it does get Earth Power, so it can hit Tran fairly effectively, I suppose. You know, and then the fact that it has Sun is also making it like an indirect counter to Primarina. Not that like Primarina by itself like is walled by Torkoal, but like it can set up Sun and then allow him to like use something else to weaken the Scalds a little bit. Makes it a little bit easier for him to deal with. So I respect that. Lugia is his switch in for Medicham. Naganadel is just scary. Seismitoad is there for rocks and whatever. So definitely makes sense. For lead matchup, I like Scizor just because it leads pretty well versus most everything. You can either threaten it with a Bullet Punch, like the Aromatisse, or it can just go for a simple U-turn, like versus Hariyama, Torkoal, even Lugia to an extent. Lugia probably isn't going to be packing like Hidden Power, Fire, or anything like that. Maybe he's got like a Aeroblast to do a decent chunk of damage to Medicham, but it's not going to do a ton of damage to Scizor. The only thing that's not as great versus is Naganadel, and I don't think he'll lead Naganadel. He'll save that in the back for a late game sweeper. And then there's also the potential Seismitoad. We'll have to see. Like I don't think I would stay in versus Seismitoad. I'll probably go into Xatu or something. It's unfortunate, like if he clicks rocks and I go into Xatu, I don't have magic bounce as I explained in the team builder. So he'll get them up, but you know, maybe he won't click them for fear of the Xatu coming in. So with that, we're gonna click play and leave with our Scizor. Wish good luck, have fun to Arashi, and hope that this turns out to be a pretty good game. I think that I can use this baton pass strategy fairly effectively here. It's just going to be a question of what I pass into, whether it is Heatran or Primarina, or, of course, Darcius. So he does lead with his Seismitoad, which is kind of one of the things I wasn't really thrilled about having to switch into. I decided to go into my Xatu, thinking he might go for Scald or something, and I could take that relatively well. Instead, he throws off the Hydro Pump, and as you're about to see, that does like 80% to my Xatu, and he shows Life Orb. So this is a modest Life Orb Seismitoad, which is not amazing for me by any stretch. Xatu is too important for me to sack, so I'm trying to go into Primarina on the Water move. And of course, he busts out the Sludge Wave, so he made a really nice play there. No reason for him to go for Hydro Pump when Sludge Wave would easily kill the Xatu from that range. I just basically have to sack my Primarina because there's nothing I can pivot into to take a hit. And if he decides to predict again, like say I go into Heatran, for example, that would be a freaking nuts play, but let's just say that I did that, for example, and then he went for Hydro Pump or Earth Power or something. I ended up sacking my Heatran, which is, I think, a little more valuable than the Primarina. So unfortunately, I have to sack Primarina. Primarina has not gotten like any kills this season, and it's died in every single game that it's come. Like, I know it's not a reflection of how good it is, but it's just unfortunate that my matches have always played out that way. So anyway, I now go into my Arceus. Judgment is in range of killing the Seismitoad after the 3 Life Orb hits. That I'm thinking he might go into his Hariyama, and I click Psy Shock as he switches out, but he goes into Aromatisse instead. But I'm happy to get a little bit of chip damage on the Aromatisse all the same. He's going to throw off a Moonblast versus my Darcius. As I go into my Scizor, I still want to preserve my Aqua Berry on this thing, but the fact that the Superior is not there makes this thing a little bit safer to switch into Aromatisse and things like that. But he does switch on out, fearing my Steel-type move as I just simply click U-turn and hit the Hariyama. That U-turn doesn't do a ton of damage, so that suggests that this is probably at least max HP. It's still unclear if it's like Assault Vest or what it is, but I do the calc, and if he does have Bullet Punch, Bullet Punch should not be able to kill my Xatu since I'm fully physically defensive. So I do bring it in, and I go for the Roost. He shows the knockoff, and I do have my Colbur Berry for just this situation. He's going to end up getting a crit on that knockoff. which is a little annoying, but not the end of the world because I can continue to roost. But the damage actually reveals that he does not have any attack investment. So I'm thinking this is a max HP, max Spadef Assault Vest set. I haven't gone in for any special attack moves to confirm that yet. But that's just what makes the most sense for me. Like, there's no reason for him to bring a lot of speed on this. But it does make a lot of sense for him to bring as much Spadef as possible for my Darcius. So that's what I'm thinking for sure. He goes out into his Torkoal as I go for another Roost with my Xatu. This allows me to finally get back up to full. I'm not 100% sure why he was making this switch into the Torkoal. Maybe like I think he was just trying to like maneuver himself into a favorable matchup. Like from what I was understanding when we were talking afterwards, like he thought going into Torkoal would then lure in my Heatran. So he thought then he could double into Hariyama and scare my Heatran basically. But the Torkoal doesn't really threaten the Xatu at all, so I can just take that as an opportunity to go for the Calm Mind. And he brings in the Hariyama on that Calm Mind, fakes me out to do a little bit of chip damage, which I respect. And then I can go for a second Calm Mind because there's no way he can kill me in one shot with any move that he has. This knockoff, it's really not doing a lot of damage. As you can see, it does 60 damage, so like 35% or so. Nothing I can't just roost off extremely easily. I'm going to go for, I believe, another Roost here to get it back up to full. And he goes into Aromatisse. So the fact that he goes into Aromatisse screams that this is also pretty Spadef, which definitely makes sense. That's pretty much in line with the Side Shock damage that he took before. It looked like it was max HP, but not any defense investment. And like the Moonblast damage showed that it didn't have any attack investment when he hit my Scizor. So anyway, I'm thinking that this is a good chance to Baton Pass, and I do choose to go into my Heatran. So I'm a +2/+2 Heatran, facing down this Aromatisse, which is definitely not going to be too big of a problem for me. So he does throw off a Moonblast and get a special attack drop. I'm still traumatized after last week with the 4 special attack drops on my Heatran, which is not amazing. But Magma Storm still does a load of damage to this Aromatisse, even if it's a Spadef with my +1 special attack boost. And so the fact that I'm also +2 special defense means that his Moonblast is doing literally 6 or 7 damage on each turn. But yeah, as you can see, Magma Storm does about half. So that combined with the trapping effect is going to make quick work of this Aromatisse. And he apparently doesn't have any sort of wish or protect or whatever to try and stall this out. I can 2-hit KO with Magma Storm, so I can appreciate why he wouldn't even really bother doing anything like that. But at this point, because he doesn't seem to want to do anything besides just throw off Moonblast, I'm not going to waste any Magma Storm PP to try to do the most amount of damage possible. I'm just going to throw off the Earth Power. And it looks like Earth Power plus Magma Storm damage was going to kill. But this Leftovers gives him just barely enough to survive on 3 or 4 HP. So this following turn, he will be able to go down. You throw off the Protect, but it doesn't really matter. I guess he's just hoping that I waste Magma Storm PP or something like that. But I think I have 6 PP remaining at this point, which is pretty decent. Gives me quite a bit to work with. And so this is actually, so having this Heatran in here, it still puts me in a really good spot. So I can't win right now because he still has this Hariyama, which I cannot break through because I presume it's Thick Fat. But, he's got to be pressured to click Close Combat here, which gives me pretty much a free switch in back into my Xatu. And then once again, this Hariyama is not going to be able to threaten my Xatu. I have the chance to go for a Calm Mind and then Baton Pass either back into Heatran or into Darcius, depending upon what he brings in. He's at 80% HP or so on the Hariyama. So anyway, now the Seismitoad comes out here as I go for Calm Mind. This is a little bit of a tricky situation because I know that this Seismitoad is offensive. I don't know if it's a max HP offensive or if it's max speed offensive. Ideally, it would be max speed, and then I can use my Xatu to take a hit and then pass freely into something. But I don't have that opportunity, unfortunately, because I do outspeed it. So I'm going to Baton Pass into my Darcius. It's going to take a little bit from this Seismitoad, but because Arceus is so naturally bulky, and I do have that +1 special defense boost, I'm going to take the Hydro Pump relatively well, and I can throw off a Judgment and definitely knock this thing out. So all that's left on the team is Hariyama, Naganadel, Torkoal, and I forget the other Mon. So versus this Hariyama, like this is still a scary situation because it could do a lot of damage to me. But if he goes for a CC does a max of 83% to me. And then based on the calc, I think I do like 67 to 80 or something. I don't remember exactly what the calc was. But I went for Recover on the first turn because if he went for CC and then drops his defenses, I definitely guaranteed kill with the Psyshock. Oh yeah, his other Mon is Lugia. I can definitely guarantee kill with the Psyshock. I still live like close combat into BP if he's rocking BP. So it just seems like the safest option. Instead, he kind of overpredicted, went for a knockoff. And then it was kind of the same situation where I was basically at a range of HP where I could take close combat into Bullet Punch. And so I'll go for the Psyshock and try and get the kill. If it doesn't work out, then it's fine. I could live the two moves. So hopefully that makes sense. Like, it seems awkward to like stay in with a Darcius versus Hariyama like that, but because I was pretty sure he wasn't physically offensive invested, that I'd be able to take him out. Lugia comes in here, tries to Calm Mind up, but after I break its multi-scale, it's pretty easy to deal with. Next comes in the Torkoal. I don't know exactly what the role is on this Torkoal. I don't know what sort of spread it is, but obviously I'm just going to stay in here and click Judgment once again. And we're going to throw this off, and it's going to end up taking out the Torkoal, as you see here. So Darcius has just one more Pokemon to work through, and that is the Naganadel. And there's almost no variant of Naganadel that can live a +1 Judgment. Naganadel's just not that bulky overall. And we're going to get ourselves a nice 5-0 W in this Week 8 matchup versus Super Suna Arashi. So the Baton Pass strategy just ended up working out pretty much perfectly. We stumbled a little bit out of the gate because that Seismitoad really caught us off guard. That Life Orb Modest Seismitoad was a really nice spring, really solid. Once we were able to recover from that, we were able to basically take control back for the entire match. Excuse me, I'm tired and yawning. Yeah, I thought that prep worked out really nice. Yeah, and like he had good prep, but it just was unfortunate. Like versus the Arceus set that I brought, he just he didn't have any counterplay. Maybe a Rimatease with Spadaf could live a Sludge Bomb, like one singular Sludge Bomb, but he had to burn that to deal with the Heatran. Maybe he could have gone into Toad, but Toad dies to Toad easily dies to +1 Magma Storm at the range of HP that he was at. And if it didn't, I had Protect to give an extra turn of recoil from the Magma Storm. And then I outspeed, or no, I guess I didn't try to guaranteed outspeed Seismitoad. I was just outspeeding Metagross, Jolly Metagross. But because I knew he was modest, Seismitoad should be slower than Jolly Metagross anyway. So yeah, just following up into Earth Power would have taken it out. So yeah, like, he could have gone into Toad, but it didn't matter. He had to sack something, so he chose to sack Aromatisse. And, like, because he thought, Hariyama is still around, I could potentially still use Hariyama to check the Arceus. But it didn't end up being that case because I did have the Psyshock and I did have the ability to pass into it. So that was probably a little rambly, but I do want to give a shout out to Arashi for being a good sport about that. I know a lot of people are in the league are commenting at the end of each week how hard it is to prep and play versus Arceus Dark. So it's definitely getting banned next season, from what I understand. It's now 24-3 on the season through 8 weeks, so it's averaging 3 kills a week, which is wild. For the Week 9 matchup, we are going to be going up against our old pal Johnny GB and his Seattle Metal Sounders. It's a nice team name, named after a soccer team out in Seattle. If we can win that, we will be absolutely locked for playoffs. I think we're virtually locked for playoffs now, even if we lose out. But I do want to try and win out if I can, because if we can get the 2 seed or the 3 seed, that means that we won't run into Gypsy until the finals. So if I can at least make it that far, I'll be pretty happy, and then maybe we can hacks Gypsy in the finals. That's like our only chance of beating him, to be honest. So anyway, hope you liked that game. If you did, make sure you drop a like and leave a sub so that way you can stay up to date on next week's BBL action and all of my other latest and greatest gaming and Pokemon content. So until the next time, I'll see you guys later.